Hey couples, in today's video, we're going to talk about something called emotional intelligence, also known as EQ. And we're going to talk about how important it is for you to have good, solid, healthy emotional intelligence in your marriage.
Yeah, so emotional intelligence is simply understanding your own emotions, how you think and feel about things, and then the ability to understand your spouse's emotions and the way they view things.
Now, there are 5 skills of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skill. And we're going to walk through each one of these one at a time so that you can sort of grade yourself. And if you're brave enough, you can even grade your spouse on each of these items. Let's start with self-awareness, which is your ability to recognize your own emotions.
Think about this, couples, in your relationship. Things happen, right? You're married to someone, you share the same home, your life is completely enmeshed and connected. And so sometimes things happen and we get upset, we get hurt, we get mad. So the first thing about EQ, and if you want to have a healthy marriage, is you have to understand your own emotions. You have to reflect on a conversation you just had, or look your spouse maybe just gave you and be like, what am I feeling right now? What am I reacting to? Why do I feel what I'm feeling? Because that's going to be important moving forward about how you communicate that.
But recognizing your emotions is just the beginning. The next thing is what we call self-regulation, and that's your ability to manage your emotions.
Right. So let's say you just had a conversation and you felt belittled, perhaps by your spouse, the tone they used or something that they said that was hurtful. So in a healthy marriage, then it isn't just, okay, I feel belittled and hurt, so now I'm going to just react and start yelling and belittling you. That isn't the right answer or approach either. So the second piece then is really that self-regulation, that you can look internally and say, okay, this is the feeling I'm having. This is the emotion I'm feeling. But I don't want to just react to that. What am I going to do that's productive with that emotion?
So the third skill is what we just call motivation. And this is your ability to direct your emotions toward a goal. And Tracy, I think the goal, obviously, in a marriage is to make the marriage healthier. The goal is to grow old together, right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes when our spouse hurts us, there could be a temptation to we want to feel anger and bitterness. We just kind of stew on that in our heart. We don't really want to be productive with it. We just it justifies then maybe the way we treat our spouse. And so we just kind of harbor those negative emotions. But if we're really healthy in our EQ and want a healthy marriage, then our motivation needs to be, okay, this is how I'm feeling and I'm hurt, but I want our marriage to be better. So I want to give my spouse the chance, the opportunity to right the wrong.
All right, so those first 3 skills are directed, you'll notice, toward yourself: self-awareness, self-regulation, and really, in a sense, self-motivation. But the next 2 skills are really about how you interact with others, how it actually comes out. And the first one is what we call empathy. It's your ability to recognize emotions in others. And this is really important if you want to have a healthy marriage.
Yeah, so remember in EQ, there's 2 parts of it. There's our own emotions, understanding how we're feeling, but then it's wanting to understand how the other person's feeling. And that's what empathy is all about. It's being able to put yourself in your spouse's shoes, seeing it from their perspective, that when you had an argument, maybe you said or did something, maybe your tone of voice set them off, maybe they had a bad day at work, maybe they also have been hurt by something that's happened. And so it's your ability to say, okay, I know what I'm feeling, but I recognize my spouse is probably coming to this conversation or this situation with their own emotions. I need to understand those too.
And then that leaves us with just one final skill of EQ, and it's what we call social skill. It's your ability to manage emotions in others. Now, Tracy, I could hear someone saying, well, wait, is it really my job to manage the emotions of my spouse? And is that what this is talking about, social skill?
No, and I think that's important. I can't control how you feel, but I can work to understand how you feel. I can use words or ask questions that show and demonstrate a desire to understand your perspective, right? To empathize with you so that we can start having a conversation about how do we get to solutions? How do we avoid these hurts from happening again? So it's not that I'm trying to stop you from being angry, but certainly in response to your emotion, I can either show a level of care and interest in what you're saying and how you feel, or I can want to shut you down and say, I don't care how you feel.
Yeah, and we've noticed with a lot of couples, If you've got a husband and a wife that both have really low EQ, it's really not necessarily a heart thing, but it's a skill thing. Maybe neither one of them has the skill to manage emotions in the other person. And so then there's just always this conflict, which is really sad, because if they could just learn some of these skills, maybe their marriage could be better than they ever imagined.
Yeah, that's why it's important to keep working on it. You can learn the skills of EQ. You can get better at it as you go along, to not just understand your own perspective, but in a marriage, you have to be able to understand things from your spouse's perspective. So if you both come to those conversations or to a conflict or to a situation when someone's hurt, if your heart is to say, I'm so sorry that you're hurt, I want to understand what I did to bring that hurt and how we can change that. If you both do that, then you can have a healthy marriage and you can move through the seasons of life with ease.
So go ahead and give yourself a grade on each of these 5 skills of emotional intelligence. And if you're brave enough, give your spouse a grade. And more important than anything, make sure to talk about this with your spouse or with a mentoring couple. And hey, if you've got questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. We come out with new content every single week.